How much money could you make if you were given $10,000 to gamble away? Our next guest was given that chance to find out for an entire NFL season. McKay Coppins is a writer for The Atlantic. The magazine gave him $10,000 to immerse himself in online gambling. And The Atlantic agreed to cover his losses and split any winnings. His March article is called Sucker, My Year as a Degenerate Gambler. McKay joins us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so you write that sports betting has razor-thin margins, and I agree with you there. But there's a shocking statistic. You say only 2% of gamblers actually make money. Now, despite all of that, this is a $160 billion business. Why?
I think anybody who watches sports can see that in the last few years it has come to permeate almost every corner of this industry. It's impossible to turn on a game on any channel at any time of the day without being bombarded with ads for online sports books. You basically trace this back to 2018. The Supreme Court lifted the federal ban on sports betting. And almost overnight, something like 40 states legalized online gambling. And basically what we did was we took this ancient vice that has existed for as long as sports has existed, put it on everyone's phones, and made it as frictionless as checking the weather.
Boom.
And look, it
exploded.
About half of men between the ages of 18 and 49 have a currently active online sports book, which gives you a sense of how big this phenomenon is.
Yeah, I'm curious if at all how it affected you physically and mentally, because you write you're a practicing Mormon who had never gambled before. I'm curious about why you were chosen in the first place. And did it affect you physically or mentally?
Oh, yeah. Well, it's funny. It started out as basically a gimmick for a magazine story, right? The idea was, oh, we'll give you some money to gamble with. You can write a funny story about it in the midst of your broader investigation of the industry. And I will tell you, I did not expect it to kind of consume my life the way it did. It only took a few weeks before I was hiding in the kitchen pantry to put my bets in so my kids didn't see how much I was gambling.
I know, you open the story, I'm sitting at the dinner table with my kids and I slip into the bedroom because I don't want them to see what I'm doing. I'm thinking, what you doing?
Yeah, I mean, look, but I think probably a lot of dads can relate to that feeling, right? Like, given how many men in America now are gambling, we don't want this to be seen as a vice or as a problem. It's supposed to just be a fun hobby, and it is fun. It's incredibly fun.
Until it isn't.
It's incredibly compulsive, is the thing. These apps are designed to keep you coming back constantly, all the time, to spend all of your waking hours thinking about them. And that kind of started to happen to me.
What were you using? FanDuel, DraftKings?
FanDuel, DraftKings. I started experimenting with Kalshi later, one of the predictive markets. ESPN Bet was one of my favorites. The reality is, most men who have one sports book have multiple apps.
And even as a journalist who knew this, you were surprised that you were losing, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, look, everyone who starts gambling has this irrational confidence that they're going to be the exception. And I was warned, only 2% win, and I thought I was going to be one of the ones who won.
And we spoke with executives at two of the largest online gamblings, FanDuel's and Sports and DraftKings, who say they impose limits on potentially problematic gamblers and offer users support. Did you find that to be true?
So they say that, and I think that they do have some mechanisms in place, but they are running up against a basic economic reality of this industry, which is about 80% of their revenue comes from the 10% of gamblers who gamble the most.
Wow.
Which means that
so what's their incentive to...
They don't have an incentive to kick people off the platform that are gambling compulsively.
So the losers are big losers.
A lot of them, yes.
Wow.
You write, it is perhaps not a coincidence that the casinofication of America is taking place while the Oval Office is occupied by a former casino operator. What sort of effect has this administration had on this online gambling industry?
You see this most vividly with the prediction markets like Polymarket and Kalshi, where you can gamble not only on sports, but on the weather, on the Oscars, on war. During the Biden administration, multiple federal investigations were opened up against those prediction markets. Once Donald Trump returned to office, those investigations were shuttered. Donald Trump's son, Don Jr., has joined both companies, and they are operating with much less scrutiny than they were just a few years ago, and they've exploded in popularity.
Real quick before we go, Gayle asked you, how did you feel? People say, I don't get it. How did you feel when you won? And how did you feel when you lost?
How much did you win?
How much did I win?
Out of the $10,000?
Yeah.
I ended up with about $130 at the end.
Out of 10. Wow.
So
Yeah.
you lost.
I
You
lost quite a
money.
bit, but I will tell you, it was very fun, and I understand why people do it. They just need to be careful.
You get it. You
Yeah.
get it. Yeah.
You would have made more money just keeping it in the stock market, in an S&P fund.
Yes,
Or just burying it in the
or
backyard.
putting it under my bed. That's
Yeah.
probably what I should have done.
But you're calling it a public health crisis, possibly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Something we
Thank you
should
so
think
much. We
about.
appreciate you. And you can read his article both online and on Newsstand.